Beans. Let's talk about beans. All the beans in the world we have are contributions from the Western Hemisphere, except for two. The soybean and the horse bean were from China. Every other bean is from the Western Hemisphere, indigenous. Now, beans, of course, being a source of protein, that's a pretty big deal when you can't get meat or fish. So there was dozens of beans in the north, and there was also dozens of beans in the south. So that's a protein source that they've had for a long, long time. One of the reasons why they did have the balanced diet that they did. 60% of our nut species in the world were gifts of the American Indian as well, too. Now that's another example of a protein in the diet right there. Now, from 1950s onward, in the 20th century, these contributions aren't just from 1492, but there's a remarkable plant and which came from the Andean culture, as many of these plants did, quinoa. Now we're going to talk about a few things just from the 1950s, but particularly quinoa has been introduced just recently, and the nutritional properties were well known to all of those societies. Quinoa seeds have twice the protein of corn, twice the protein of barley, and twice the protein of rice. Now that's in a form that's also more easily used by the body. Now, they're high in amino acid lysine, so lysine is a critical, and relatively high in fat. And quinoa is also a complete protein, and it contains calcium, iron, vitamin E, phosphorus, and all B vitamins as well too. Now its carbohydrates are easier to digest than rye, millet, wheat, corn, or sorghum. And this is only one of 7 or 8 main staples that they had in the Andes, 5 or 6 of which the Western world doesn't even know about, some not even translated into English as yet. But in the 1950s, since the 1950s, they've discovered freeze-drying foods. Those were from 1,000 years ago. Beef jerky was another one. Instant foods as well too. So freeze-dried foods were from up in the mountains in the Andes, and instant foods such as potato flakes. Now there's 450 different freeze-dried foods have come onto the marketplace since the 1950s. But they were introduced that a long, long time ago and developed it a long, long time ago. So those are some items that came, including quinoa. Now quinoa was only introduced into North American markets in 1984, and that was very hard to find in health food stores. Now it's in all the supermarkets. Okay, see, it's a very amazing food. So those are some examples, not just beans, but some other developments that we owe the indigenous. Okay, thanks very much.